your customer. This is very much applicable to bank, not to the exporter. This is very much applicable to the bank, not to the exporter. Know your customer. 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 Now, the reason for this is because of the survival of the bank in itself. The survival of the bank in itself. In the sense that, international trade, if you wonder why terrorism is increasing in the world, if you wonder why some terrorist group can survive for such a long time, if you wonder why Boko Haram is able to do what it's doing in Nigeria, the simple reason is because they have source of supply of funds. They have source of supply of logistics and trade. International trade is a viable channel to make that happen. Trade, international trade is a viable channel to make that happen. And if you see terrorism increasing in any country, it's a sign that the banks in that country is lax, very lax and loose. Or some of the banks in that country, maybe not all, some of the banks in that country are very lax or loose in their anti-money laundering and counter-terrorist financing measures. They are not very strong in it. Even though CBN have said bank staff should be going through training on money laundering every 6 months or every year, I don't know. But that's not stopping it. And that should, sometimes we just put a regulation in place, either people are following it or not. The fact that bandits are operating in Nigeria freely, the fact that Boko Haram is operating freely, the fact that S-men, in quote, are getting arms and ammunition is a sign that the banking system is porous. And trade is one of the avenues through which all this activity, through which funds are made available for those activities. So people launder money. Money laundering is described as the washing of dirty money to become clean. The money is dirty not because of stain on it, but because the source is unclean, the source is illegal, the source is bribery and corruption. When you see a lot of hotels and you see a lot of buildings in Abuja, in Ikoyi, with only a megad outside, nobody inside, a number of them are proceeds of corruption. It is a process called integration in money laundering that brought about those ones. They are fully integrated the corrupt practice. That's what brought about it. That's what brought about it. Do you know that when there are insinuations around when Buhari came in 2015, because of the body language, because people were there was high expectation of corruption, but of course, that's not been the case right now with what we are seeing in the country. But that time, a lot of politicians used export to move their money out of Nigeria. Such that some products were very cheap abroad that Nigerian produced. They were very cheap abroad because people were moving, they will ship without documentation. Normally, if you export, you should repatriate the fund. In fact, CBN even penalized bank for non-repatriation. But people were not repatriating. Of course, as long as bribery thrive in Nigeria, they're able to bribe their way through the port. They ship the good out without documentation. But they are using the instrument of trade. Trade constitutes almost 25% of the volume of the GDP of the world. The GDP of the world is about 80 trillion. Trade is about 19 trillion. trade in the world is about 19 trillion. The GDP of the world is about 80 trillion. So you can imagine the quantum of fund that goes into trade. So because of that, it becomes easier to put anything inside. People can smuggle different things inside. It's easy to smuggle different things inside trade to conceal. And there are different typologies around this. So a bank must know the customer, because the day the ship will be down and NFIU, EFCC, CBN will come calling, it will become a reputational issue for the bank, a legal issue for the bank. It can create a lot of problem for the bank. KYC, know your customer. It applies to both the exporter and the bank. It safeguards both the exporter and the bank from being implicated in aiding and abetting a crime called trade-based money laundering. The exporter needs to know the buyer abroad well enough. So you can't just do business and ship to anybody. Because you want to do business, you need to also know how real are they. What is the business focus of the buyer? For how long have they been in business? Do they have other business interests? And asking all these questions before they even come to the bank for funding. And the bank needs to check up also. So the bank does not become a conduit for money laundering. Just the way a number of banks in Nigeria today are conduit for money laundering. You know why Nigerian banks, it's easier for Nigerian bank to, some Nigerian banks, not all, some Nigerian banks to be avenue to launder money. The pressure on marketers to deliver is such that they will accept some money without asking the right question, just to be able to meet their target and keep their job. You know, when you think of banks that have been over 100 years old, Citibank, or banks that have spent several decades, like Stan Chart, I'm talking about international banks in Nigeria. If you check them, you realize that those banks, they don't joke. A number of them have survived hard times, and they have to pay heavy fines, so they don't joke with money laundering issues. UK have literally closed down a bank in a day. They shut down all the branches of that bank overnight. They shut it down. They went to all the branches, and police escort their staff out of the bank, and they shut down the operation abruptly. You know why? That bank was being used as a conduit, and it's been used. You know, money laundering in Nigeria, no banks that is easy. They are very loose in money laundering issue, and they know bank they should go to when they want to move money that they will not question. They know bank to go. And that's why sometimes Nigerian bank also, we have banks that, apart from few banks, a number of banks have started and they could not continue because of one of these issues. Bank, on the other hand, is expected to know the customer, the exporter, well enough, before going ahead to process trade transaction for them. The more a bank knows its customer and understand the basis for the commercial relationship with them, the less likely is it to be associated with a firm that will attempt to present trade-based money laundering transactions. Those seeking to conduct criminal activity will usually not wish to have their operations, management, credit history, and transaction record known thoroughly by the bank. Known thoroughly by the bank. KYC, know your customer, and customer due diligence, CDD requirement, are broadly based on the following principles. Client information must include the names of natural person. Client information must include the name of natural person of the business. including the detail of the beneficial owner or controlling influence. Why? There are some money launderers who buys into another business so that they can use those business as conduit. So if as an exporter, if you are doing well, you just find someone wanting to come and give you money to do more business and be a shareholder in the business. And you are looking at how much profit you want to make, and you're not looking at what they intend to do. Because now they can use the business as conduit for their illicit act. Company details will include the date and the place of incorporation, the registered trading address, the contact details and taxation information on the customer's account information. All these, and the customer information, account information must be retained and accessible to trade finance processing systems. Changes in the customer information must be made immediately to the computer database. You know, today, before now, if mandate change, bank can investigate to know why. But today, if the mandate is changed, you don't even know. The detail for transfer is already with someone else. And the person can always issue instruction in the name of the other person. Because it's electronic, that's the challenge of technology. Monitoring of account must include input from not only the account manager, but also trade processing staff who have regular communication with the customer and familiar with the customer's transactional history. I'm familiar with the customer's transactional history. I'm familiar with the customer transactional history. Material change in ownership must be noted in customer information file. One of the reasons why money laundering thrive in Nigeria in export is because we are largely cash economy. So if you want to buy product in the bush, nowadays, maybe some of the farmers might begin to consider alert, transfer. But before now, you have to bring your cash. You have to go to the bank, withdraw the cash, carry the cash in the boot of the car into the bush. That is common among commodity traders. Now, in the money laundering process, you have the placement of the fund. Then, that's depositing into the bank. Layering of the fund. That is when you use the transaction for the money for different transactions. Then, integration of the fund. That's when the money is now used to build a business, a hotel, a real estate. In the eye of an observer at integration level, it's like nothing has happened. This money is legitimate. The reason for layering is to conceal the source of the money. Use it for a lot of trading activity, in and out, in and out, in and out. But in export in Nigeria, banks need to know that you don't get to see the placement stage. You start with layering. If we carry the cash, you can easily exchange the dollar. You can easily exchange the dollar, yeah, to naira, and then use the naira to go and buy in the field. Use the naira to go and buy in the field. And then export. The only thing you see is the layering stage. When the money comes in as an export transaction, but you don't know the source of the money. You don't know the source of the money. You don't know the source of the money. Let's move on to the next one.